Today on the Breakthrough Podcast, we are diving into unlearning unworthiness. I'm Travia Stewart, and I want to help you move past barriers and obstacles that are preventing you from getting what you want in life. This is Breakthrough. You are someone who is stuck in negative thinking like a CD playing the same track over and over again. If you're someone who thinks just focusing on being positive is enough to make major changes in your life, or if you're even someone who keeps getting similar results in your life and who has no idea the actual impact that negative thinking has on your life, well, on today's episode, you are going to learn how to break through those patterns of negative thinking from my guest today, Nicole Magic, who awakens true potential by permanently erasing limiting beliefs and showing you how to live a life you deserve without compromising who you are or what you love. We begin right now the episode as Nicole begins telling her story of a near-death experience and that she survived that catapulted her life in the direction that it is now. And after a series of inexplicable miracles, lessons, and opportunities, Nicole shares with us right now. Stay tuned.
Hey, I am so happy to be here with you, Travia, today and speaking to your audience on the Breakthrough podcast. I hope everyone is having a great day, and I'm just excited. Are you excited, Travia?
I'm excited. I'm
Oh,
really excited. Absolutely. This is going to be a conversation like no other. I already feel it.
yes, yes. So you just want me to dive right on into it?
I want you to dive right on into it.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right. So I come from the world, Lorea Sample, come from the world of engineering. I have a 17-year career as an engineer. And so I am really heavy on logic, head knowledge, does it make sense? If it don't make money, make sense type gal, right? And so throughout much of my life, that's how I got through my life. That's how I advanced in my career. That's how I made important decisions when it came to where I lived, who I was even friends with, that type of thing. But there was one area of my life that never really seemed to measure up to all the other areas that I achieved highly in, and that was in romantic relationships, right?
Mhm.
So I had bought the house, right? I had the car, I had the degree, graduated from Clemson University, bachelor's in mechanical engineering, had the career, all that stuff, but I didn't have my person. And just so as you know it, just when you think everything is going well in your life, this person comes along. And he was in the form of an old high school sweetheart. And we reconnected like back in 2010-ish, around that time. And he really just came in and swept me off my feet. And I'm thinking, finally, like it's happening for me. And come to find out, about 6 months in, we were engaged. So I'm really excited about that. I mean, met my church family, my parents, talked to them, all this great stuff. And I find out, by my intuition, while sitting at work one day, he sent me a message. He was supposed to come. He lived out of, we didn't live in the same state, and he was supposed to come see me. It was over a holiday weekend, and he last minute said that he couldn't come. And it was like this random excuse. And there was something on the inside of me that said, he's lying. He's lying. And I didn't say anything. I said, okay, I'll call you. Let me call you right back. And he's like, what? I said, no, it's fine. Let me call you right back. Because there was this thing that came over me that said, get off right now, pull out your CIA FBI investigative skills. We're about to go to work. This is how it happened. And I went home. I'm in the middle of work and I just get up and I walk out and I go home and I get on my computer. And I don't know if it was God, but I'm telling you, some higher power gave me a password to get into. I'm so serious. Gave me a password to get into his email. I don't advise anybody to do this, but it came from heaven. I did not hack it. I had the password and it worked. And I was like, this is freaky, but I'm going to keep going with it. And what I discovered was I felt like I was part of a made for TV Lifetime movie. I wasn't the only one. There were 4 other women in 4 different states, and he was already engaged for a year to someone else, and he was living with her. And my world crashed right before my eyes. And I can remember being in my living room after reading all of what I read. It was true. I saw everything lining up. I knew what I was reading was not a figment of my imagination. And I remembered becoming so weak and my legs got really weak and I just fell down to the ground and I cried and I said out loud, how did I get here? How did I get here? And that question was so relevant for me because I'm known by most everyone. I'm no nonsense. I don't play games. Nothing gets past me, right?
Yeah.
I'm not gullible. I'm smart. I'm brilliant. How
Mhm.
could something like that happen to someone like me? And that was the point where I started my own journey of getting out of my head and really learning what it meant to be fallen into my heart and into my body. Because that was the thing that showed me the information. My body told me something's not right. And I needed to explore that. And so that is where I started my journey. And 2 years later, I finally went into therapy because I needed it. And that was my first introduction to therapy. And that is where I really began to dig in deep and to see the part that I played in where I was in my life at that very moment. And as a result, I wrote a book in 2017 called Unlearning Unworthiness. That was the root. And that is how I got to where I am today. That was the beginning.
Oh my God. I had no idea. I knew just from, the social, the interwebs that you
Mm-hmm.
had some relationship stuff, but
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
whoa, oh my God, that's some stuff right there.
Yeah, and I tell people, people make fun of the Lifetime movies because they just think they're so outlandish. But I'm
Yeah,
like, no, this stuff happens in real life, and I'm a testament of it. But the thing that used to just throw people off was how did that happen to you?
right.
And how it happened to me is that I was so disconnected with who I am. I was so
Mm,
disconnected with my body. I was so disconnected from my intuition, which is something as an engineer, I didn't really value that. I
right.
didn't really value my feelings, how I felt about things. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
Facts over feelings, which I still believe in. I believe in facts over feelings when it comes to certain things. However, in that particular case, as a woman, I was really missing that piece of connection within because it made me disconnected without. This was the piece as to why my relationships weren't working, and not just romantic relationships. Saw it show up in my career. So business relationships in my business, how it affected my money, really not being guided by my desires, but being guided by my logic
yeah,
and what I know and what I
right.
think.
Oh my God. So I want to go back, right? So you and he are together 6 months, right? He's
Hmm.
already engaged to somebody else and he's got 2 other women. So it's 4 of you.
Hmm.
So, I mean, in the moment, what would you say, if you just had to guess, what would you say, because you're taking full responsibility here, what would you
Absolutely.
say he was attracted to? What do you think you had in common with the other three women that made him say, she's next?
Well, what I know it is that I didn't value myself the
Mm,
way that I should. I didn't see the value that
yeah,
I actually brought into any area
right,
of career, relationships, friendships. I didn't value it to the extent that I needed to value it for me, not for anyone else.
right,
It was really about me being still and recognizing that my worthiness is not contingent upon anything except for that I exist.
right.
That's it.
Let's break this down because I got some in-laws, I got some cousins who are sitting back going, what you mean by that? I have a theorized idea of valuing myself. Tell me what that looked like with him. Give me some examples.
Well, what it looked like with him is that he should have never gotten past hello. Being really paying attention to, okay, this doesn't feel right. I know something's off. Like that was something that I experienced when he first reached out to me. I remember I said out loud, I was real churchy back then, but I said out loud, this is the devil. I remember saying that out loud. Oh, this is the devil. This is the devil. And really, what I was saying was my body had a visceral response to, mm-mm. And so, me not honoring my feelings, honoring when something doesn't feel right, honoring when
Mm,
I know something is not in alignment with who I am and how I want to experience myself. That's the thing. I was not experiencing myself the way other people experience me. I was
right.
used to people telling me that I was brilliant. I was used to people telling me, "Oh, you're this awesome leader. Oh, Lorea, you're so fearless. Oh, Lorea, you just do whatever you want to do. Oh,
Yeah.
Lorea, nothing makes you scared. You're not afraid of anything." Other people were experiencing me that way, but behind closed doors, I was leading my life with fear. Fear was
Mm,
leading my life.
yeah.
So when fear is leading your life, you will choose things that don't align with what you actually want, just
Right.
so you can say you have it. So I was choosing him just so I could say I was chosen. I was in a
Mm,
relationship. Now it's my time, right? And there
yeah.
was something that was very seductive about that to me. But that was what got me into that situation. Why did I feel like I needed to be chosen?
Mm.
Why
Because you had
didn't I
already
choose
done all the
myself?
stuff, right? You had already had the education. You had already, got the house. You had already done the things. Now it's time for the next piece of the puzzle of what
Mhm.
society says that makes us, lovable, right? You got to do all
Yeah.
these things.
Yeah. And see, I'm glad that you brought up the word society because a lot of times we're being driven by someone else's ideas. We're being driven by someone else's beliefs that we've taken on as our very own. And what I had to discover, this was a very powerful moment for me was I remember I was in a church service. It was about almost 10 years ago. And the speaker at that particular service, he said, he's a bishop, and he said, "You are God's idea, and he knows how to express himself. You are God's idea, and he knows how to express himself." When I heard that, that's when it started to really click for me. The further I get away from my divine intent, what the creator had for me, and stop taking on what other people had for me and what society, family, culture,
Yeah.
educational systems, whatever the case may be, had for me as a Black woman, as an engineer, as a woman, or just in this world, I that's when I began to get into alignment with who I am. That's when the value began to be experienced by me.
Right. I have some friends, family members who are like, like you said, I'm not as churchy as I used to be, who are really churchy.
Oh yeah.
And it would be the common thing to just be like, mm-mm, you stay with this guy, you forgive him. So
Mm-hmm.
because you raised your value and you were listening to your that subconscious, that internal voice,
Mm-hmm.
because were there any red flags before that moment that
Absolutely.
maybe and you purposely overlooked because
Absolutely. And this, I discovered, look, I love therapy. Okay. Therapy is bomb because I like talking. And that's what you do in therapy. You're
yeah,
talking, right? And
yep,
so, in one of my sessions, because what is very common for people who are new to therapy is that they will be resistant to it, even though they want it. And I was very resistant in the beginning. And we got to a point in our sessions where she stopped me. Dr. Becky Boatwright, an older white woman of God. I mean, total opposite of what I would have ever chosen, but she
yeah,
was chosen for me. And she said to me, she said, "Look, let's just stop," because I was being resistant again
yeah,
in a session. And she was just like, "This is not working. And what I need from you is your willingness. And what I don't understand is why you're still upset with him." And I'm
mm,
looking at her like, "What do you mean why I'm upset with him? I told you what this guy did." And she's just like, "No, no, no. I know what he did, but he's sick. That's what sick people do. I
mm,
don't understand why you are still mad at him." And I just kept looking at her like this. And she's like, "Well, do you want to know what I think?" And I was like, "Sure, whatever." And she was like, "I think who you're really upset with is you. And the reason why you're upset with yourself is I hear about your relationship with God. And I hear about all the things that you do in church and how you're so committed and you're faithful to service." And she said, "But you told me that God told you no, and you still did it anyway." She was like, "So I believe you're upset with yourself because you chose to do it your way and you knew
wow,
better.
mm,
But you like to, laud yourself around." Oh, she read me for filth. She was like, "You like to laud yourself around as though you're this faithful person. But when God told you no, you ignored it and you still did what you wanted to do. So
mm,
really, you're upset with yourself." And really, that's what it was. It was when we're going through life situations. I mean, even something as basic as what you're going to eat today. If you know you should not eat that fried chicken, if you know you should not be eating those chips. I had a conversation with myself today over some potato chips. If you know you're not supposed to do it and your body's like, "No, we don't like that. We don't
yeah,
like that." And you do it anyway, you have to be willing to deal with the consequences of your choices, good or bad.
mm,
And that was really that moment of accountability, like how you mentioned before, that I take full responsibility because
yeah,
there's always a part that you play in whatever manifests in your life. And a lot of times when it comes to these relationships things, it's easy to be like, "Yeah, girl, he was wrong. Oh my God. Yeah."
yeah,
Mm-mm. But you chose your way to that place. And
hmm,
that's what I realized. I chose my way to that place. So
yeah,
even in my coaching, I have this method called the Sacred Rebellion Method. And
mm,
it's really about training and guiding yourself how to make one sacred choice at a time. I had to
mm,
learn that my choices were sacred. They're not just happenstance, diddly wop
yeah,
choices. They mean something. All of
absolutely,
them.
yeah. Wow, this is some good powerful stuff. So, I am a cancer thriver and, this survivor thing. No, no,
Congratulations.
thriver. Thank you.
There we go. There we go.
Right? Right. And so when you say, how could something like this happen to me? Like there's a commercial that comes on in Phoenix. It's like, oh, I'm a deacon in my church and I do this and I give, but I had breast cancer. Were you of that mentality? I serve the Lord and I do this and I'm a powerful woman and I'm an engineer. How could this happen to me? And how did you make that okay or make sense in your mind that you were doing all the things?
That's the thing. That's when I realized that doing all the things was getting me nowhere.
That's what I'm talking about.
Doing
Yes.
all the things was the problem. That was the problem because I saw what the result of doing the most had gotten me because
Yeah.
I was not being anything.
Mm.
I wasn't intentional about, okay, who does Lorea want to be? Not versus what does Lorea want to do today?
Yeah.
Who does Lorea want to be today?
Yes.
See, that takes accountability, that takes work, that takes intention.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're learning in that space of, okay, because it's a catchphrase, you need to be more. We hear that a lot, right? We hear
Right.
that a lot nowadays, but there's a process to being, and it's a lifelong process
Absolutely.
because there's levels to it. There's layers because while you are in the state, because it's a state of being who you desire to be, there's also this simultaneous unlearning and relearning.
Yes.
That's what really gets people, quote unquote, stuck or gets in the way
Mm-hmm.
because they're like, well, I'm doing all the meditation and I'm doing my affirmations and I'm writing in my journal and I'm doing all of this stuff, but nothing has changed.
Yeah.
Well, there's a book that I love. It's called A Happy Pocket Full of Money.
I know that book.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely love it. And
Yes.
he talks about in the book the first cause of everything. The first cause. And when I was looking into for myself as a coach and even getting clear on my own philosophies and practices as a person just in my personal life and as a
Right.
coach that I coach my clients with, I used to think that it started with the thought. So if you think this way, whatever way that you
Mm.
feel like you should be thinking, then you're going to speak a certain way. And then you're going to have these, you think and you have these beliefs, and then you speak, and then you have the actions. And then that's when you become who it is that you want to be. It's like a cycle, right? You
Mm.
just keep repeating it. But the first cause is not your thoughts. That's not the first cause. The first cause is you. You have to decide that you are that person.
Yeah.
I be Lorea.
You have to
That's
decide.
what influences everything. Because
Yeah.
we hear about energy, right? How you can pick up on energy. And so, because my belief is that we are all energy, right? And the first cause, it's going to be there. It can't be created nor destroyed, and you can't fake energy.
Mm.
You can say that you have a millionaire mindset. So what? If you be not a millionaire,
Yeah.
you can say that you're a loving person with an open heart and do
Mm.
all the things, right?
Right.
Look like a pillar in your community. But if you not be that,
Mm.
that's where it begins. And it begins with a decision.
Yeah.
And you
I'm
have to decide over and over and choose it every day, every moment, every hour, sometimes, every second
absolutely.
to be that.
Absolutely. So, and I want to come back to that because that is so huge. I want to pivot just a little bit
Mhm.
because and talk about your journey, the journey up here to not having a perfect relationship or maybe even a relationship,
Mhm.
but counting yourself, unlearning unworthiness, but counting
Mhm.
yourself worthy to work with people in an area where you feel like I don't know if I'm an example.
Baby, are you getting all in my business?
That's what
Okay.
I do.
I love it though. I love it though because that actually is a part of my journey. Like
Yeah.
I struggled with it. I did. I
Mhm.
was just like I can't talk about that. I can't coach women on that. I'm not married. I haven't proven that I'm successful in that area, right?
Mhm.
And I was just like, how can I do this? I can't do that. But it wasn't about proving. That was the thing. I don't have anything to prove.
Yeah.
I know what I know. And my results with my clients are the proof. That's that. The results in my life in who I am, the walk that I walk, in the talk that I talk is the proof. But I had to get out of that proving energy.
Yeah.
I have a message. And because I have gone through some crazy relationships, what I do know is who that you have to become the woman that doesn't tolerate that. That's what
Mm.
I could teach you. It's really not about the end result of being in the relationship and finding the one. That's the problem. That's
Yeah.
a result of your work. Yes, if that's what you want. But what I the reason how I got settled in that was like, first of all, I don't have anything to prove. And second of all, I know I have something to share and to teach you about becoming, because
Yes.
that's what it's about. Since I have really committed to my own personal journey of becoming
Mhm.
Lorea, I attract high quality relationships.
Yeah.
And I even see that it's not just about the one relationship, right? My
Uh-huh.
relationship with money. There are so many different relationships.
Mhm.
I have grown in that relationship with partnerships,
Yeah.
friendships, really being aware and present of how I'm being in those
Mhm.
relationships,
Yeah.
because there's healing in all relationships. Healing rarely occurs in isolation,
Mm.
rarely,
Yeah.
if it does at all. And so it occurs in community. And what needs to happen is, if a person, look, I respect anybody who wants to, I only want to be led and taught by someone who's actually in a relationship. Go for it. I'm
Yeah.
not, I personally am not pattern. Am I saying it right? Can I
Patterning.
speak?
Yeah, it's a hard
Okay,
word.
patterning.
Patterning. We get it. We know what you mean.
I'm not trying to replicate
There
my
we go.
relationship. I'm not trying to replicate someone else's relationship.
Yeah.
I'm not. I want a happy life. And so the question really becomes, okay, do you want to be seen as worthy of being able to teach, or do you actually want to have a fulfilled and happy life?
Yeah.
I choose fulfillment and happiness. And guess what? That's attractive.
Yeah, it is. Because when I see you, I mean, like if I were someone seeking a coach, like especially in running across some of your videos on Facebook, I mean, just the power and the confidence that you display, I would want to be coached by someone like you, whether you had a loving relationship and you went home to somebody or not, because it's your presence that is the example of what I want to replicate,
Right.
you know?
Thank you so
So
much for that. And
absolutely.
what's true about it all, it's not really about the relationship you have with other people. It all comes back to the relationship you have with yourself. That's what
Yeah.
I've learned.
Yeah.
That's what I can teach you about. It's about the
Absolutely.
relationship I have with myself. And when people see that, like anyone, there's this clip of Eartha Kitt, and she talks about how she loves herself and how she loves her relationship with herself. And so if someone wants to have a relationship with her, she gets to choose whether she wants to invite them in or not, because she loves her relationship with herself.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. And
Okay.
people love that. How many men wanted her? Because of
Right?
that confidence that she exuded. She loved herself. She loved her life, and that's attractive. And just like you, even doing what you do, breakthrough. Listen,
Yeah.
Listen, we want to talk about power. It's like your life qualifies you. You just said it. You are a cancer thriver,
Yeah.
right? And of course, you have something to teach someone about breaking through in their lives, because a cancer thriver, who
Yeah.
wouldn't? If anyone else is qualified, who wouldn't be qualified?
That's
You
what
know
I'm
what I'm
talking about.
saying? So it's the
Yeah.
same thing. I've seen relationship disappointments take people out, take
Yeah.
them out of their life, take them out of their element, take them out of being that once trusting, loving person. And
Mhm.
so when you can come out of these made for TV lifetime movie experiences and
Yeah.
still have a genuine smile and still have something to give, still
Mhm.
have an open heart, but not lose an ounce of power, I don't have anything to prove.
I love
Absolutely
that.
nothing.
That's so good. So, Lorea, I recognize your strength and your confidence. Who is, like, it's the quote that we are the average of the five people we spend the most time with.
Mhm.
You don't have to name names, but I would love to know who you are the average of.
I'm at the top of my list.
Okay, all right. Who are the four? What? Who? Not names, but tell me about the four people below.
Okay, definitely my mother. And
Okay,
if I could put my mother and her mother, my maternal grandmother, on the same, can they count as one person? But no, they're
sure.
two.
Yes.
Um, I would definitely put them there because they exemplify strength. When I was
Mm,
younger, I used to think that they were weak. I didn't understand why there were
yeah.
certain things that they tolerated or certain things that they allowed. And that was me in my ignorant place. And I just needed to, as the old folks say, just live a little. And as
Yeah.
I began to live and I began to have my own experiences as a woman in this world, now at 44, I see them and I'm like, wisdom upon wisdom upon wisdom. So I would definitely say my maternal grandmother and my mother.
Hmm.
Um, the other two, I have mentors in my life.
Yeah,
You know one of them,
I do.
right? We have been in container together.
Yes.
And she's definitely one of, I'm going to shout her out because I just feel like everybody needs to know who
And we
she is.
should.
Darian C. Brandon.
Yeah.
She is one of my coaches and my mentors. Definitely, when it comes to personal power and really being the woman who can hold that and still be in your humanity, still be
Mhm.
brilliant and be vulnerable, it's so beautiful and
Yeah.
powerful. She's definitely one. And I would also say my other mentor, Shamika Tankerson. If you don't know her, you need to know her. She is absolutely a woman that is skilled, for one, in making millions in your business, right?
Mm.
But also, and she's my business mentor, but she also she is very skilled around energetics
Okay.
and being able to hold your power no matter having absolute power, as she says, versus circumstantial power.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would say that those are my four people.
Okay. Now, I really have another question now about those people. Are all those people Black? I'm
All of
thinking
them
they
black,
are.
honey.
I'm thinking because I don't
Black on
think there's
black
a
on
white
black on black.
Shamika.
Black on 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 black. Yes.
And the reason why I asked that is because of course I know your mother and your grandmother, and I know
Mhm.
Varian.
Right.
There is something about our people.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
took me most of my life to realize that, and I'm embarrassed to admit that. But I remember how I felt in the container in Varian's micromind with you.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't really want to show up because I remember on one call when I just assumed all you churchy people were going to judge me. She's like, "You just judged us." And she was so right because I automatically assumed
Yeah.
people were judging me
Mm-hmm.
before, but I was judging them. And the
Mm-hmm.
power, I'm telling you, I grew so much because there's something about a way, I love all my Caucasians, my Hispanics, I love it. I
Absolutely.
love everybody. But there's
Absolutely.
something in a power
Mm-hmm.
that a Black person can talk to another Black person in a way that other people can't understand.
Mm-hmm.
So when
Mm-hmm.
we go back to being,
Mm-hmm.
how can you talk to our brothers and sisters about this is where you start? Like, really break it down. You make the decision and
Mm-hmm.
then do what? Like, somebody's like, they're in a relationship, they're being treated badly, and walk them through layman term
Mm-hmm.
what they should be doing to come out of that.
Okay. Well, layman terms, be willing to be wrong.
Mm,
You have to be willing to be wrong about the decision that you initially made.
so
And
good.
see, this is the thing. There's no shame in that. Being
Yeah.
being willing to be wrong, like this decision, this choice, this wasn't the best,
Mm-hmm.
means there's your door and your key of freedom. All you got to do is take the key, unlock the door, and walk through it. Because a
Yes.
lot of times we think that we're chained to the decisions that we make. No, you're not.
Mm,
You have the freedom and the ability to choose differently once you decide who you desire to be. So that's number one. And number two, you have to have the courage to not care.
mm,
So once you make that decision,
yeah.
you're not signing up for a decision agreement committee. That's not what we're doing. Divine decisions do not require agreement. You've decided. And so you have to have that courage, because it takes courage, especially when you do something that's outside of the norm of what people are used to you doing. It doesn't even have to be something outrageous. If people are used to you always saying yes and you want to say no, you have to have the courage to not care. If people are used to you saying no and you want to say yes,
Yeah.
you have to have the courage to not care. And so that would be the second thing. And then number three, you have to be willing to risk being you. It's a risk. This is something that I had to learn. I didn't think that it was risky to just be Lorea. What? That doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
But once I understood value, bringing myself back to the whole value and the worthiness conversation, I am not normal. I am not like everybody else.
Yeah.
You are not like everybody
Not
else.
at all.
Everybody that's watching, you are not like everyone else. And so you have to stop walking around like how I was, like, oh, I'm just normal. I'm like everybody else. I just blend in. No, you don't. No, you don't.
Yeah.
And so there's a risk that you have to be willing to take, because if you don't, you'll never be free.
Mm.
You'll never be free. And so that those are the three keys, or the three steps, as far as mindset, that I walk myself through when
Yeah.
I'm decided on who I'm going to be in any given moment in time.
Wow, I love that. I love this quote. I'm typing it right now. There is a risk you have to be willing, or there's a risk. Say it again. Say it again.
The last one,
Yes. There's a
that
risk that,
you must be willing to take the risk to be you.
there we
There
go.
is a risk that you take
Mm.
when you decide to be you,
Yeah.
because
Okay.
people want you to be in such a way that is at a comfort level for them. It's
Mm-hmm.
never about you. That's the thing. No matter who you're being at any given time, for them, especially if it's a resistance, it's
Yeah.
never really about you. It's about them.
Yeah.
And so you have to be willing to be wrong about your decisions at any given time, and know that you have the freedom and the choice to choose differently. You have to have the courage to not care about what people are going to think about that decision and that choice.
Yeah.
And you have to be willing to take the risk of being you. Because if you don't, you just will never be free. And freedom is one of my highest values in
Mm.
my life. If
Yeah.
I am not free, I can't do it. And
Yeah.
so, who wants to live a life in captivity? You're not an animal. This is not a zoo. Your life is not a zoo. You're not
Yeah.
on display. You're here to be free.
Yeah. I resonate with that so much because during that same micromind, I
Mhm.
probably grew the most I had.
I remember when you had your
And
breakthrough. Yeah.
oh my God, because here I am, these people, they're judging me. And I recognize that I've been walking around with that sentence in my mind that if I truly am who I was created to be, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to be accepted.
Mm,
Right.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Right.
Who
And
knew?
who knew? Who knew? Because I was like, I'm over that. I do the work. I wasn't completely.
But
Yeah.
you know why that was able to come to the surface for you, bringing it back to the power of learning and gleaning from other Black women or Black
Yeah.
people? It's about community. As I
Right.
said before, healing rarely happens in isolation. I
Yeah.
believe it was Bell Hooks' ancestor, love you, Bell Hooks, who said that healing does not occur in isolation. Healing is communion. So
Yeah.
that's why for me, community is so important. That's why I love coaching. That is
Mm-hmm.
why I will always be coached,
Yeah.
because I have blind spots. We
Absolutely.
all have blind spot, and that was a blind spot for you. And it
Yeah.
takes courage, right? For you to not
Absolutely.
care how you looked in that moment. You
Yep.
were willing to be wrong.
Yep. I
And
was.
you risked being you. You did it in real time. 'Cause I
Yeah.
remember that session. And so, just as she says, the judgment usually that we have of other people, we have it of ourselves. And
Yeah.
so that it was like mirror, in that
Absolutely.
moment. And relationships are the thing that bring those things out, that
Yeah.
bring those things to light. And that's why I love helping women to thrive in the relationship space, because
Yeah.
that's how you grow. You don't grow by yourself. You
I
will
get
not
that.
know yourself by yourself.
And we
It's
weren't put on this earth to be by ourselves, right?
exactly. We're
I
called
love
to be
that.
interdependent, not
Yes.
independent.
Yes. So,
Yes.
Lorea, as we wrap this episode up, I
Mhm.
want you to talk to my peeps about your trust factor micro masterclass. Like these people I know, because if I'm listening, I'm like, I'm going to her website. I'm going to look and learn all about her and what she got that I can get more of her. Tell them
Yes.
about that.
All right, so I am gifting all of Travia's breakthrough podcast listeners and viewers this
Yes.
micro masterclass called The Trust Factor. And it is the key to having everything that you desire. This is the path to take, because what I realized in my own journey and in the journey of my clients is that, hey, I want this thing, I desire this thing, but I don't trust myself to really fully lean into it.
Mm.
And here's the thing, for relationships or desires that you want, anything, it doesn't even have to just be a relationship. What gets in the way many times are the disappointments of the past. You're being triggered. It causes you to be cautious. It causes you to doubt yourself. It causes you to want to take the risks that we talked about just a few moments ago. Well, I've learned that it's not about you trusting God. It's not about you having to learn to trust other people. It's about you developing powerful self trust. Trusting yourself is the key, because I know that as long as I trust myself to make right decisions, even if it's not the one that's best for me, I will always be okay. And so developing that relationship with self-trust is what I go through in this micro masterclass, and I would love for you to have it. So if you want it, it's free. You get access to it. It's about 30 minutes long. So you can go to bit.ly/back breakthroughpodcast.com, and that is bit.ly/back capital B breakthrough capital P podcast capital G gift, and you can have it. It's there for you.
I think I'm gonna go get it too.
Go
I ain't
for it,
ashamed.
trivia.
I ain't ashamed. I'm gonna go get it too because I'm always have a coach too,
Mhm, mhm.
you know. And so As we end it, this has been so powerful. I'm reminded of, I don't know if you know another coach, his name is Steve Bacon. Do you know Steve Bacon? Okay. He's on Facebook.
Okay.
The first time we sat down and had lunch, he lives here in Arizona, and he said, you know what? If Black people would stop seeing each other as competition and viewing each other as a community, we would change the world.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I feel with you when I see your things on Facebook, when I see that you're making these big, bold moves. I don't look at you and go, Lorea taking my people. I go, Lorea's going to rise, and then Lorea's going to have a hand for me.
Mm-hmm.
Trey's going to arrive. Trey's going to have a hand for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Because so much of our life has been spent like crabs in the pot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? So
Right.
I'm in community with you, and I am cheering you on with your success as you make these big moves. And just know that I am on your sideline, I'm in your corner, and I am your community.
Thank you. And please know, you already know it's reciprocated over here. And
Absolutely.
that really is the heart of Black people is
It
community.
is. It's community.
Is.
Lorea, thank you so much. This was
You're welcome.
such a fantastic conversation. I loved every second of it.
I did too. Thank you for entrusting my voice with your audience.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast, and I hope you're finding this information valuable and helpful to help you create your best life, to break through those barriers. If you're enjoying this podcast, I would love it if you would like and subscribe to Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts, whether that's on Spotify or Google Playlists, and also on my YouTube channel. If you like seeing the videos of these podcasts, please click below to the subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. All right, my peeps, take care.